Hello and welcome to Plot Twisters.
This is a podcast where we take movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better, and if not, more clicky.
At the moment, we're talking about teen movies from the 80s.
On this episode, Heathers from 1989.
I'm Emma, and a lot of people drink mineral water. It's come a long way.
I'm Anders, and I've been to 7 schools in 7 states. The only thing that's different is my locker combination.
All right. That was the voice you slept into there.
Yeah, in my head, it is Matthew McConaughey, even though I am fully aware that that I was actually quoting Christian Slater. Same guy, right?
Same guy.
This is the same guy.
Same thing. Talking of same guy, so Christian Slater's in this movie. He's kind of the same guy as the other Christian Slater movie we watched, right? Except a bit more unhinged. Yeah. What was that called again? I can never remember what that one was called.
You mean the film that you once described as, the one about the boy with the radio?
The guy with the radio. What's that film called? You can't remember either.
Shoot. What is it called? I love that movie, and I can't remember what it's called.
It's the one with the volume.
Pump up the volume. It's the one with the boy with the radio. He's the same. All right. Yeah, this movie's the same. He's the same guy. Same guy. Something different about him. One critical difference, but other than that, totally the same guy.
This time he murders.
This time he's new and improved, and he has guns. So we're here to talk about Heathers, which I'm gonna put my hands right up and say I thought I had seen this movie, and then I started watching it, and I realized that I was thinking of a completely different movie. So
really?
Yeah, and I don't know what that movie is.
Oh.
But I think it had Drew Barrymore in it. That's all I can remember. But this movie I'd never seen before, and I have some strong opinions about it.
Me too.
Stronger than usually my opinions on most things are. I have strong opinions about this. Yes, I have. Yes, exactly.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I've broken through something's changed. Something has awoken in me, and it will never go to sleep. So after seeing this movie, I feel ways. Well, I don't know. Eventually, it'll probably fade. Give it 20 minutes, and I probably won't remember.
I like this. I like this new super opinionated. Maybe I'll take a bit more of a backseat on this one, and I'll just kind of go, yeah, I guess it was fine. Yeah. I liked it. I liked that it had Winona Ryder in it.
You do fun jokes, and I'll talk about how bad this movie is for humanity.
Sure.
Or not. Cards to my chest. Do you want me to do a rundown of this film real quick?
Yes, please.
So this is this movie's like it's like an anti-John Hughes kind of a vibe, right? It's like a movie set in high school in the 80s that, if was nice and sweet, would basically be, 16 Candles, but it's not, because it's a dark comedy and it's filled with a lot of some bad stuff. But it's a movie that, as we say, it has it's Christian Slater's in this movie, as well as Winona Ryder, which is very cool to see both of these famous actors in what I imagine is one of their earlier works. But this movie is about a clique of very, very popular women in high school girls, and they are all called Heather for some reason. I don't know why, but are they friends because their name is Heather, or did they change the name to Heather because they were because they were popular or whatever? Either way, it's confusing. Oh, hi Heather. How's it going, Heather? Oh, Heather said that.
And at no point in the movie does anyone get confused. It's like they always use their names and nobody ever questions it. It's like, she goes, Heather, your mum's here. And then all 3 of them are like, okay, thanks. And it's like, which one?
Which one? Oh, I was talking to Heather earlier. There's 3 of them, but nobody ever asks for the last name, right? So there's a group of 3 girls, Heather. They're all very popular, and they also are friends with Veronica. She's the different one because she is not called Heather.
And that's it.
And that's pretty much it.
That's the reason.
I'll say this too. There's a lot of croquet in this movie. That was also a wild card. The whole time I was thinking, everyone's named Heather, and why does everybody like croquet so darn much? But that's not what the movie was about. So basically, Veronica starts to realize that her friends are the worst, and she doesn't like them. There's a pivotal scene where she really realizes, hey, maybe Heather, the head Heather, isn't my best friend, and that's when they go to this terrible party where there's a lot of drinks spiking happening, and Veronica wants to go home, and Heather says, just be cool, we're not leaving. So the next day, Veronica's pretty upset about that. So she and her about-to-be boyfriend, JD, or, love interest, go over to Heather's house to... Well, they go over there to confront her.
I think, and they decide to prank her, don't they?
We're going to prank you!
Make her be sick.
Yeah. They prank her by giving her what they say is a hangover cure, but what is actually... Poison chemicals, and she drinks them, and drinks the chemicals, and she dies. It's important to say that that's not what Veronica wanted. Veronica wanted to give her something that would make her feel sick. But JD was like, "No, it'll be funny. Let's give her poison." So that wasn't super great. But what happens is there's this funeral. Everybody thinks it was a suicide because Veronica writes the most insane, big handwritten suicide note. And everybody thinks, wow, she was so, what a great person. She died. But then something really bad happens, and that's the two of them just start killing all of their friends and doing some bad things, which we'll talk about in the way that they kill them. Veronica soon realizes that, oh, no, these aren't pranks and these weren't accidents. JD is definitely killing all of my friends. Which isn't great. And
tricking her into thinking that that's not what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. No, these aren't real bullets. They're just like, they'll put them to sleep for a second. No, they're deadly bullets. She realizes that when she goes over to JD's house and realizes that JD's dad is like a murderer and has all these weapons and, dynamite and stuff. And so she's like, maybe we shouldn't be friends anymore. To the point where she fakes her own death. So that JD will leave her alone, I guess. But then she finds out, there's some even worse stuff happening. JD is going to blow up the school and kill everybody in it, including me and himself. So she goes and, does what she needs to do and stops that from happening, which was great. And then the movie ends with JD exploding himself in front of the school. And that was really sad. And then Veronica, who gets almost blown up, but not really. But this cool thing happens where she has a cigarette in her mouth and it gets lit by JD getting exploded. And then she goes back into the school. And then she basically goes, I'm in charge now. I'm the new Heather person. It's just a lot of people. There's a lot of murders in this movie. It was hard to keep track actually because there's all these prank murders, and it turns out JD was a bad man. That's the best I could do, I think, on the old recap of this movie. What did you think about it? What were your thoughts?
I have seen this film before.
Oh,
a long time ago, and I remember it differently than how I experienced it watching it.
Oh no. Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
I remember enjoying it and finding it interesting and thinking it was quite cool. But I think what's interesting is that what really interests me is the relationship between the Heathers.
Right.
And I found it really disappointing that the villain is JD.
Right, and not one of the Heathers?
Because it's the dynamic between those girls which is far more exciting and interesting than the dynamic between Winona Ryder and Christian Slater in there. And, was that just me? Like, I didn't... As soon as it turned into a story about Veronica and her boyfriend, I kind of was less engaged.
Yeah, I think I can.
And it made me think of Jawbreaker, which I slated when we did our episode on it. But the thing they did really well is that it's the dynamic between the female friends. I feel like maybe I thought that was what this film was about, and then when it wasn't, that annoyed me.
When did you realize that? Was it after the first Heather died or the second Heather died?
I think the second.
You're like, this movie isn't about you guys anymore.
No, it's not about
You're
that.
dead. And
it's funny because it's so iconic, isn't it? The Heathers thing. And it's the title of the film. So it's actually not as much of the focus as it should be, I think.
Yeah.
Even the fact that she becomes a Heather at the end, you could have done that more. Like, it could have been when the second Heather takes over as Queen Bee in place of the first Heather, she takes like her like red bow, doesn't she? And she starts wearing red, which was Heather
the transfer
One's
of power.
thing. And that was kind of cool and eerie and a bit like a bit weird.
Yeah.
I think they should have done more of that, and I was disappointed that they didn't. Because I don't care about douchebag guys. There's so many in these films. I just
listen. Not to jump right into it, but I agree. And also, name a guy in this movie that wasn't a douchebag. Because there weren't any. It was there was some bad stuff going on in this movie.
Come on, hit me with those opinions. Hit me.
There was there's two things that were bad.
Yeah.
There was attempted and actual rape in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a big old heaping of homophobia as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like either of those things.
No.
And I also don't think either of those things needed to be in this movie.
Yeah.
And it made me feel bad. And, I didn't like that.
Do you think it was uncomfortable because it detracted from the what I mean, you know, when you have a baddie.
I love the word baddie, by the way. I love the word baddie so much. I think it's the best thing ever.
Really?
Yeah, nobody else. That's such a British thing. It's such a Britain thing to be like, ooh,
is it?
Who's the baddie, right?
Goodies and baddies.
Yeah, I love it so much. Sorry,
I didn't know that was a British thing. That's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Here's how you can tell if it's a British thing. If you ask yourself, is that turn of phrase a bit cute and sort of, you know, is it cutesy? And if it's cutesy, it's probably a British thing.
Right.
And if it's a little bit too in your face, it's probably an American thing.
Okay.
That's the rule.
That's fun.
There. Yeah.
Well, all right. If you have a villain in a story, there's things that they can do which we don't like, but they're still compelling. So quite often you have a villain that is intended to sort of mirror the traits of your hero, but the villain chooses to do bad things with those traits instead of good things. Like, for example, let's take Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, right?
Sure.
Or Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker. Both of them have the ways of the Force,
right?
Are powerful. Both of them are Jedi. Both of them have a kind of difficult upbringing that's then led to them having their own kind of chosen quest, that chosen one quest that leads to them, you know, becoming adopted by the Jedi and going on to be involved in grand politics across the galaxy.
Yeah.
But Anakin chooses to give in to the dark side and Luke Skywalker doesn't, right? That's the very basic difference between a villain and a hero. And even more so, they have a connection, which is that, spoiler alert, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
Don't tell everybody. Some people don't know that yet. They've seen the first one. They're interested, but they haven't really gone through it yet.
They haven't branched into the sequels.
Oh well.
That's going to be a wild ride. So, yeah, there's some kind of connection, but it's very simple in that a villain is kind of like, it's the hero, but if they gave in to badness. But the things that villains can do can often be very, very terrible, but we still find them compelling because they are so related to the hero. It's the hero. It's the if the hero gave in, and that's supposed to engage with the moral grey area that we all have, which is, am I going to be a good version of myself or am I going to be a bad version of myself? And not even as two-dimensional as that, just am I going to make good decisions today or am I going to make bad decisions today? That's what appeals to us.
Right.
But there are some points, I think, where you have villains in films that then start to do things which don't connect with that and they're just bad things. And that's more reliant upon, you just know that this is bad, so that makes you hate this person, rather than you know it's bad but you understand them. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So let me throw this at you, right? Most of the people in this movie were bad people, with the exception of, I guess, Veronica. But, like, she did murder a couple of people. But here's what you got 3 Heathers, all of them, I guess, from context, are the worst. Although we don't really get to know that much, other than we have to infer that they're mean, right?
Yeah,
they're just high school kids who are like cliquey and think they're and are very popular, and you know, kids are mean. Right. That's my opinion anyway. You know, some people might be like, kids are the future. Kids are the best. No, they're not. Kids are mean and they're selfish and they don't clean up after themselves very often. And quite frankly, of course, they talk about each other, you know, in between like classes at the study hall or whatever. So I guess they're bad a little bit. But then JD's like a bad guy because he does the murders, and the football guys are bad guys because they do rape. So a bad guy kills some not so nice people and some bad people, and then eventually kills himself. And Veronica is wrapped up in all of this, but at the end, she decides to be the leader of she's a Heather now. So what I don't know is who is the good person in this movie, and what was the resolution, or was there really no good people, and was there no resolution? It's just a movie about kids who kill each other and then blow themselves up?
Well, I wonder if it's because sometimes in a story you enter into a kind of like, I guess you could say, a karma exchange in terms of all these people are bad. So the way that there is a dramatic arc is that somebody must do a bad thing and then receive some kind of comeuppance for it.
Right.
And if that is enacted by another bad person who's also done bad things, we as an audience don't necessarily mind if it makes sense that they've paid for their crimes.
Yeah.
But I think there is a difficulty in a film like this where the crimes in question are things that shouldn't really be dealt with by teenagers. Right? So like
yeah.
Something like, and this is something that I see quite often, I guess, particularly with sexual violence. There's often a tendency for stories to find ways to punish a character that's engaged in sexual violence, that becomes far more about the perpetrator than it does about the person who's been assaulted or whatever. And then as an audience member, we're supposed to go, okay, this person's done a terrible thing. What do we think is an appropriate punishment for this person?
Right.
Within the context of the story, right? So like, oh, these guys got killed because they did this thing. Is that fine or not? I've recently been rewatching Downton Abbey. Don't laugh.
Sorry. Good. That's historical programming is good for. We learn about our culture, the past, and then the future.
It's not really. It's a soap where they're all in 1920s costumes. It's not really.
It's a far cry from Mr. Darcy, right?
Yeah. It's but there's a very interesting storyline. I think it's in season 4 and 1, where one of the characters is raped, and then the whole storyline is about her husband wanting to enact revenge upon the man who raped her, and then that man, you know, whether or not he's going to get punished for what he did. And it's not at all about the experience of the woman who was attacked. So it's like, it's very difficult for me to watch that and go, what do I think should happen to this man? Because it's like, I don't really want to think about that, first of all. That's not really something that's very pleasant or nice to think about.
No.
But also, well, he should go to prison and then we shouldn't have to think about him anymore. I don't want to think about other people taking justice into their own hands in that sort of situation. So, yeah, this is kind of a roundabout way of saying, like, there's a morality system in this film that doesn't quite work. And that's what it's trying to engage us with, rather than characters that we're rooting for.
I mean, I get it, right? And I'm sure that, you know, the design of this is like, because it's all high stakes, i.e. there's a lot of murders happen. It's like, yeah, the football guys weren't good guys, so murder them maybe is in this movie an acceptable thing, but it definitely felt like hey JD, you don't have to kill everybody. Though I will say this, you remember in the very first scene where we meet Christian Slater's character, right? And he's like in the corner and he's doing his very best, like brooding, cool new kid in school with a leather jacket, and nobody knows who he is, but people want to know who he is.
Yeah.
And these bullies come up and they want to like cause some trouble or whatever. And whilst it's now not a thing you'd ever see in a film, there was just this brief moment where he like does something so unexpected and pulls out a revolver, and I kind of thought it was a really cool scene, even though I don't condone violence and also like guns are bad, but it was so unexpected. It's like, oh, let's go pick on him. He's like, nope, because I have a gun. And I just, I kind of like that scene in a weird way.
No, I
Is
did
that
too.
weird?
I liked it too. It's funny. It's so funny to me when you say things like, "Oh, but guns are bad, so you shouldn't have a gun because guns are bad." Because it's like you talk about the film like it's real life and like it's a documentary on how people should live. It's like watching a war movie and somebody gets gunned down by a bad guys, and you're like, well, they shouldn't do that because guns are bad.
Guns are bad. They are bad.
Well, of course that. Yes.
Find me a rational person who says guns are good. I know it's not, I know this is not real life. I know that this is a film. I know that it was made, written, directed, and produced for people to enjoy themselves and to suspend their disbelief for a second. Having said that,
thanks for affirming that you do know that.
Thank you so much. I can also tell you all the other, contributing factors that help me understand all of life's, components. We don't have time for that. I just think that, yes, okay, take away guns are bad. I just feel like you wouldn't see a movie right now with a student with a gun in a high school. Right?
No, absolutely. I think it's funny because on the whole topic of like guns are bad, from my experience of writing, like sometimes it's actually just laziness that people are trying to heighten the situation, so they add in violence.
Right.
Whereas often it's talked about as if it's much more strategic than that, but it's just like, I don't know, they needed to have a fight for it to be interesting, so
I guess guns.
They shoot each other, I guess, yeah. But no, it's fun. I do think this is it's quite a heightened drama, definitely. Like, I would say it's not in the same realms of reality as some of the other teen movies that we've watched, and quite a lot of them are fairly detached from reality, but more often than not, it's look at all these rich people having a nice time, but they have some problems, but everybody's rich and beautiful.
right
and it's like, well, that's the bit that's not very real. But with this one, it's it's things like, how do they get away with it? There's fingerprints all over the place. How did the police not realize that there was somebody running from the murder scene? How did they not realize the note was faked? There's all sorts of things which, when you really start to question it, it's actually quite implausible. But I personally don't have a problem with that. I like things that are heightened and over the top and camp and melodramatic. But I think you have to still have to have compelling stories and compelling characters. And as I've already said, I just spent a lot of it frustrated that it wasn't focusing on what I thought was the most compelling part, which was the friendship between the girls.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, listen, the big question that everybody wants to know, right? And I've been mulling over this for a couple of days. If you won $1 million, but then aliens came down to Earth and said that they were going to blow it up in 2 days, Emma, what would you do with the money? Like, what would you do?
So I've got 2 full days.
You have 2 full days, and that's it. You find out about like 8:45 the night before the first of your 2 complete days.
I don't get to choose when they are or anything. They're just going to be sprung upon me.
It's right now.
Oh.
Guess what? Spoiler alert. Did you see the news? The aliens just said 2 days from now, so like Tuesday at midnight, they can blow it up. What are you going to do?
And everyone else knows that this is going to happen.
Everybody knows. We all know.
Okay. All right. Well, not necessarily in order, but I would definitely go to the cinema and watch a movie.
That's insane.
What? But isn't the point of the test what are the things that you would do if you had no limits?
Yeah, you can do you can do whatever you want.
If it's like, how should I fix this crisis using the funds available to me? That's a completely different question. But surely it's you have some time and some money. What do you do, right?
But what? But the movie theater. All right.
Yeah, I love the movie theater. I love the cinema.
That's nice. Just a regular standard one, or would you spring for like the fancy ones where they bring food to your table? You know what I mean?
It depends. It depends what kind of cinema experience you want. Do you want like, I need to be sat in dark, being blasted by Dolby Atmos with a massive screen, or do I want to feel like I'm out on the town and it's fancy and I'm a fancy person with food being brought to me?
I like the format of
There's a theatre in the city I live called the Little Theatre, which I absolutely love because it's a very old-timey cinema. Yeah. It's very cool and I love it. So I definitely do that.
Nice.
I would probably go to an aquarium.
Wow. Be near the fish.
Because I love... Yeah, it's one of my favourite things to do is to go to aquariums. And I'd probably just like text everyone I know and say, hey, let's go for a pizza. And then let's go to the cinema. And then... that's what it is. I go to an aquarium for most of the day. I text all the cool people that I know. Yeah. I'd say, let's go for a pizza. Let's go watch a movie.
You do know the world is ending. This isn't just a regular Friday night, right? That sounds like a lovely day.
That's day one.
Right. Okay, fine. Day one.
Day two.
Normal stuff. Day two. Really get the really go nuts.
I'd go to like the nearest big open field.
Right.
And just like be in nature.
Okay. Cool beans.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't need money to do that because, I'm a pretty wholesome kind of person. I don't need money to have a good time.
No, yeah, totally. I get that.
I'd buy a really, really massive bar of dairy milk as well and just get chomping on it.
That so much.
Like a Toblerone or something.
Just a really big one. Just the biggest one you can find.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I like that a lot.
And I'd be eating it as the clock is ticking down so that like the last thing I'm doing is just like stuffing Toblerone in my face. What would you do?
I guess, I was thinking about this, like the question is flawed, Heathers, right? Because, by the way, if people don't know, this is a question in the movie. That's why we're talking about it.
That's
relevant. That's a topical. Yeah. This isn't just a hypothetical that I've come up with for fun.
Hey, let's talk about this movie. By the way,
what would you do if aliens?
Completely unrelated.
But the thing is, I think the question is flawed because everybody knows the world's about to end in 2 days. So having $1 million doesn't really matter because... No. What are you gonna? It doesn't matter.
Like, I'd fly to the Maldives, but then I'm spending most of my time on a plane.
Do you think that flight's even going to happen?
No, they cancel it. Of course not.
People aren't going to show up. The pilot's not showing up to work, right? The flight crew aren't being like.
But this was my question as to whether or not everyone else knows. Because if no one else knows,
then go to the Maldives. Then you go to the Maldives.
If everyone knows, probably there'd just be everyone sitting in a field holding hands, singing "Kumbaya."
Yeah.
Going, the world's ending. What do we do?
Yeah.
It'd probably just be people making out everywhere, wouldn't it?
Yeah, people would love that. People would just
people
be like,
oh, it's the end of the world.
Everyone
kiss everyone.
Kissing so many different people. Yeah. It would be really upsetting.
Oh, it'd be so gross and unhygienic.
All the kissing and all of the chocolate. And it would just be a bit too much. I would probably just lay low and
You go to the grocery store.
I'd go to the I would go to the grocery store. You know what I'd really like to do? No, I think what I'd like to do, assuming that you could still spend that money, but whatever. People are like, I guess you could buy this if you want. The world is ending, and I'd be like, that's fine. I would probably spend it on fancy and interesting foods / liquids for the mouth and enjoy them with here's what I'd like. Here's the dream. You throw 2 simultaneous dinner parties, a bit like you're on a sitcom, like that episode of Friends where
where they have one party
where Rachel's mom and dad they don't want to be in the same place, so do 2 different parties. And one party would be filled with the best people in your life. All of the best ones, right? All the good eggs and all the people that you want to be near as the world ends. And the other party is the opposite.
All the worst people.
Yep. And the thing is,
oh my goodness.
And at least in my connections in life, I believe that neither party would understand which group they are, right? Because I think everyone in both would be like, oh, look at us. Hey, we're all the good. That's probably because I don't really know how to share how I feel with people. So as a result,
Anders.
Too bad.
Anders.
Hey, you too good party. Hello.
Anders.
Yes?
Which party would I be
You
in?
know which party you'd be in. Trust me.
But you
don't
just
have
said.
to,
You just said that the people who were in the bad party wouldn't know because they think that they're good because you don't know how to share how you feel. So, Anders, which party would I be in?
Just, say hi to my crazy uncle and my deadbeat neighbor and that guy that punched me in the face that time, who I'm still in touch with because, we're pen pals. No, you know where you'd be. The point is, keep your enemies close and your friends... Wait, who do you keep closer? Friends or enemies?
I keep everybody 2 meters away.
2 meters away, that's exactly right.
You know what's fun is that we were talking about a film about high school girls and we still managed to bring it back to aliens.
Yeah, because, hey, you know why? Here comes the mallet, all right? I thought this movie was going to be awesome, right? It has Christian Slater and Winona Ryder, and I remember seeing the not the trailer, but I remember seeing the VHS tape at the video store I used to work at thinking, that movie's so cool. Look how cool they are. And I started watching and I thought, this movie could be cool. It's weird that they're playing croquet a lot. And also, it's weird, but I hope it's pretty good. But I didn't think it was very good, and I didn't like this movie. That's my hot take. That's the hammer, throwing it down. Everyone's bad, and then Christian Slater explodes.
You said you were going to come in here with some really controversial opinions.
That's the best I have.
And then you're like, I didn't like the movie with all the murder in it. Predictable once again. Hey, Heather.
Oh, hey, Heather.
You know what all the cool Heathers are doing these days?
Playing croquet and talking about how her name is Heather?
Exactly. That and going onto social media and following the page Plot Twisters Pod for some amazing podcast-related content. See you later, Heather.
Bye, Heather.
I know how to fix this.
I think I know that you know how to fix this.
Wow, that's what a supportive person you are. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, I think you've got the answer, right?
What do you think I'm going to say?
Make this movie about the Heathers?
Yeah.
Right? How about we make this movie called Heathers about people called Heather? Yeah. Exactly.
I think that there's loads of things that are being remade at the moment, as we know. We're being chased down, we're being called up by Hollywood, and they're saying, "Hi, Emma and Anders off of the podcast Plot Twisters. You're going back to these 90s movies, these 80s movies, revisiting them, rethinking them.
Yep.
What should we do?" And we're going, "Why not He's All That?" And they're going, "Okay, great." And then Netflix is like, yeah, Addison Rae, and they're making it, right?
Yeah.
So I think what we should be doing is we should make Heathers again like a remake.
Sure.
That's allowed.
Sure,
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it.
Imagine this. It opens, right? There's none of this croquet nonsense. And it's just like
Thank goodness.
4 girls walking down the hall. It's the shot from Jawbreaker. It's the shot from Clueless. It's the shot from Mean Girls. It's the classic shot. The girls walking down. And they've all got a t-shirt on that says Heather, right? And we discover, and there's like a really banging, there's like Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, right? They're all walking down.
Guy. Duh, right?
And they're all like, they're doing the thing of like walking past, it's super cool. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's so cool, that's so cool. And they go into a classroom and they all sit down. And then we discover the teacher reads out their name and they're like, Jemima, are you here? And she goes, I don't go by Jemima anymore. It's Heather. And then we discover that these are actually girls who have seen the film Heathers and decided to adopt the personality of Heathers.
It's like a cult. It's like a cult. It's like a movement. Right?
Yeah, and they're like,
we
watched this film together and we're Heathers and we're the Heathers now, and everyone has to call her Heather. Right?
I love that.
Maybe they even have like Heather is a plant, isn't it? It's like a little thistly.
It's like it's like that yellow thorny plant that people like, right?
Yeah,
or is it purple?
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's purple. I think it's purple. I don't know. I don't know stuff about plants.
People in Scotland will be so upset, I think, because they have a lot of it up there. Sorry, we don't. I'm sorry. I'm not Monty Dom over here, right? It's a plant.
Oh, I got a picture of a woman. Oh, it's purple. Oh, and it's yellow. Hey, it's both.
Hey,
there's purple and yellow and pink.
We did it.
There's varying colours. That's cool. All right. They're all wearing like some kind of like headdress or necklace or something out of heather. You know? Maybe they start to take, like, I think as much as uncomfortable as the whole like framing these people that they make it look like they kill themselves makes me feel uncomfortable.
Sure.
I do think it works in terms of a dramatic mechanic for making these people bad. And again, interestingly, Jawbreaker, obviously I see now how much it references that, which is that they have this secret.
Yeah.
I think there could be something there, which is that they are murderers or they are doing something bad, but I think they should stay cool the whole time. Yeah. So when they're doing these bad things, they get away with it because they're cool. You know?
Yeah.
Because that's a much more interesting social commentary than douchebag guy is annoyed at the world and wants to kill everyone.
Right.
The relevance of these are cool girls who can do terrible things and get away with it because they're so cool, I think is much more compelling.
And I love that. Why are they killing people though? What's the drive? What's the drive to murder?
Well, I have a few options. We could do it so that they each have a different reason, which drives them to do it.
Right.
It could be, again, like Jawbreaker, which is that they do something accidentally and then have to keep doing bad things to cover up the original bad thing. Mm-hmm. Or it could be that because they're so spiteful and cool and filled with hate, that they actually want to bring down other people who are successful. Maybe like the first victim is the valedictorian or whatever the word is, you know, the smartest girl in the class, and they're like, oh, how dare she? We want to be the only ones who are cool, you know. We want to be the only ones who are admired and we're all hungry for power. Maybe one of them could be like the real Queen Bee Heather, and she could be the last one standing, and she just hates anyone who's successful because you know she doesn't feel good enough and her parents hate her or whatever, I guess.
What if there was like a group that started really pure and it was a group of like 10 Heathers or whatever, and maybe they watched the film and they decided to be Heathers. Maybe they started some sort of a group, I don't know, an a cappella band or a charitable, thing, or somehow they were all drawn together, but then they're...
Acapella group.
Yeah, it was an acapella.
We're the Heathers and we like to kill.
It's a totally normal plot point. It happens in a lot of films.
Yeah.
They're all sopranos and one's a bass or whatever. But I'm just saying, what if there was an original group, but then the head Heather is trying to remove people by killing them out of the Heathers? Because like once you're in the gang, the only way to get out is to be murdered out of it or whatever. And, and maybe it's because they started out in it being a good thing, but actually the head Heather wanted them to be popular, not nice or whatever. And for that reason, we have to start murdering you. But they're so popular that they can get away with it, and each one of the Heathers starts dying, and it's like they make these reasons why they die, and everybody believes them because the Heathers, they built that church that time.
What about if one of the under Heathers, so like Heather 2 or 3,
right,
is secretly in love with Heather 1?
Yeah.
And she's the one who starts killing because she doesn't want anyone to stand in the spotlight of her beloved Heather 1.
I like that.
She's like a jealous.
Yeah, jealous
And,
Heather.
Maybe Heather 1 has a quarterback boyfriend that she kills because she's jealous or whatever. That is somewhat playing on the nasty stereotype of queer women being crazy and killing people, but we can make an exception, I guess.
I do love the idea that they're not really all called Heather. And I had this, when you said they weren't called Heather, I had this weird part of me that thought, okay, cool. So what if they start murdering actual people whose name is actual Heather?
Yeah, so it's 5 Heathers who aren't actually called Heather, and then the new girl joins. She's the first victim. The new girl joins.
Heather.
What's your name? Oh, hi everyone. It's nice to meet you. My name's Heather Jones.
Yeah.
She has to die.
She has to die. And, it's nothing personal.
Yeah.
You're a very nice person, Heather, but actually you have to go because, well, we have a secret society of strong, powerful, and very influential and popular women who are called Heather, not by birth, but by sacred right. And you can't be in that group or alive.
And maybe the scene is she turns up, she's called Heather, and at lunch they approach her and they say, "So, you're called Heather, are you? Well, we actually have a group that we, as you can see from the back of our jackets, we're all called Heathers. Will you join us?" And she goes, no, that doesn't sound cool. I'm actually going to go sit with the mathletes. And they're like, oh, you rejected us. Well, that's not going to go well for you, sweetie.
Yeah, and
It's
what
that kind of thing.
I love it. And what if there's like a underground group, a small group of people who's changed their names from Heather, but they were Heathers,
Oh yeah,
because they knew, and they're smart. Another new Heather starts, and she's like walking down the hall, and then like this girl pulls her into a locker that actually leads down a tunnel into like this boiler room situation.
You can't be called that.
You can't be called that.
Tell me, what's your name? Yeah. Heather. No,
not anymore.
What's your name? It's
not anymore.
Harriet. That's
it's Harriet
right.
now.
You're called Harriet now. Heather's dead.
Yeah, and you will be too unless you change your name. Capiche? And then they do the uprising, the Heathers versus the Heathers, and in the end, only one survives, and nobody knows if it was what their name is and whether her name is Heather or was Heather, because she refuses to say anything.
Yeah.
And she'll hold all the secrets of the Heathers till the day that she dies.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
That could work.
It could work because the thing is, it's all about Heather. And I know what you're thinking. We went from 3 Heathers to 10 Heathers to 0 Heathers. And that's going to be on the poster. That's going to be on the poster. And in the
so
movie
many
trailer.
Heathers.
So little time.
2 Heather, 2 Furious. And it's the sequel to Heathers.
You know when something makes you laugh and then you can't remember any other movie names as a result? That was what just happened to me.
Anyway. This is two Heather for me. Here's what I'm really interested in. Forget all the other stuff that we just talked about. Here's what I want to know.
It's forgotten.
Good. Which is true because we have this. We famously have this thing, which is that we record podcast episodes and then both of us completely forget everything that we said.
Doesn't everybody do that? Isn't that?
So then we listen to it and we're like, oh, I said that. Did I? Okay.
I'm sure when Barack Obama sits down and records his podcast, he doesn't remember what he talked about at the end of it, right?
No, come on.
No. Am I comparing us to Barack Obama?
Yeah.
Why
not? Anywho, on a scale of 1 to 5 cups of chicken soup and milk, how many cups of soup would you rate this film, Heathers?
2. Didn't really like it that much.
Ooh. We haven't been that low in a while, I feel like.
Well, it's been a while since we watched a movie that rubbed me the wrong way, I think.
Yeah.
And to be fair, most movies it takes a lot to make me not like a movie, but just, I don't know, there was something. I was double screening pretty quickly, and I don't always do. I rarely do that if I'm honest, but I was doing it during this movie, so something was up. Maybe give it 10 years, I'll give it another go. But in the meantime, I give it 2 cups of that terrible concoction. What about you? What would you give it?
I think I'm going to go for 2.5. And I realize I haven't really justified the things I liked about it much, but I did think it was very well shot, and it was interesting to watch from that perspective for me. But yeah, I just was so annoyed about the fact that it wasn't more about the Heathers. And I know that we dealt with that specific annoyance by then making a film about hundreds and hundreds of Heathers, but still, it annoyed me. Make it about the women. Come on.
Yeah, no, totally.
But anyway, Heather.
Yes, Heather?
This has been nice. But I think that we should go and play some croquet now to really, shake off this experience. What do you think, Heather?
As long as you let me do that thing where you put the one croquet ball next to the other croquet ball and then step on the croquet ball and then use the croquet mallet to hit the croquet ball and it bounces the other croquet ball far away.
Yeah. As I understand it, that's how you play croquet.
That and the hoops.
I don't know.
I'm in. Sign me up.
Great.
Game on, Heather. Let's do it. Give me that mallet.
Okay, Heather. Sounds good. Anyway, thanks for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you have the time.
I'll see you next time, Heather.
See you later, Heather.
Bye, Heather.
Bye.
No, that doesn't sound cool. I'm actually gonna go sit with the mathletes.